I was younger, there was a photography program that I really wanted to get into for university. And some really fantastic photographers had graduated from there. It was in Toronto, so I'm Canadian. And I'd heard it was kind of the best place to study photography if you're Canadian. And I'd worked for about 2 years in high school putting my portfolio together. I was so excited to apply, and then I got a big fat rejection letter. And so I ended up having to go to my second choice school, which was more of an art school than a photography school. And I was really bummed about it at the time, but it ended up being the best spot for me, I discovered, because I've never been as interested in learning about the technical aspects of photography, which is where that other school is kind of focused on. And the school that I did go to, I got to do things like painting and other things that I sort of really enjoy to this day and that have really informed my work up until now as well, where it turned out that having something that was a bit looser and a bit more creatively focused ended up suiting my personality a lot better. And so I ended up actually going to the school that was right for me in the end. So I have started on work for either a book or a solo exhibition about 4 times over my career. And each time something comes up where it doesn't happen. Sometime, at least one of those times it was my fault, where by the time it kind of got to the point where had enough work for it, I didn't even like the stuff that I'd started on it because it had been like years later. So yeah, I still kind of feel like at some point I should probably do a solo exhibition of work. But I've realized now, after trying it so many times, that it's a huge commitment. And so if I'm ever going to try that again, I basically need to make sure that I treat it as a job unto itself and actually have the discipline to finish it off. So I just haven't yet. I learned that sometimes certain opportunities that you really build up in your head as being right for you aren't always. Like, the things that you think you want isn't always practical in terms of what works in your life, and also that things take time sometimes to develop. When I was younger, I used to really try to rush through my career because I always felt like I was behind, and I realized looking back now that it was a pressure I didn't need to put on myself, and that if you're just constantly doing good work and making good contacts where you can and making a good impression on people, that they don't forget that, and over time that does add up to something, and you just have to be patient. You just have to keep working at it. Even in times where I've gone long periods where work hasn't come in and I've gotten very kind of disheartened by that and frustrated by it, eventually it does come back around because I've put in the groundwork to make sure that it does, and you kind of just need to have faith in that after a period. So yeah. I used to think that anytime I got a chance at something, it would be the only time I got that chance. And that's just not true. There are so many chances that you get in life, and if something falls through, it's not where you've blown it forever. I used to be really hard on myself if I was up for a job and I didn't get it, but ultimately only one person could do that job. And when it's not your time, it's not your time. And then when it is your time, everyone else who didn't get it is looking at you like, why didn't I get that? So it's just the nature of the business. And yeah, you just have to be ready for it when it does come in, basically, and not beat yourself up when it doesn't. I just had a really bad string of luck for about a full year where I was being put up for job after job after job, and it was always where I was kind of like in the last 3, and I just wasn't getting anything. And I couldn't figure out why, and then the longer that it went on where I wasn't getting anything, the more I got disheartened about it, where when I was going into interviews about it then, I was just kind of my own worst enemy because I was so in my head because I was just so desperate at that point. And so on both those occasions, there were a few years apart, and on both those occasions I really did consider leaving the industry, and I was kind of thinking about other career paths and things, but in both those instances, kind of just as I was thinking that, I got opportunities that kind of kept me in, or things happened where I got feedback on work that I'd done previously that was really positive, where I kind of forced myself to go back and look at my own work and and realize that that the level of kind of enjoyment and passion that I got out of it, it wasn't worth kind of throwing away just because I'd had a bit of a bad run, or because someone else who I'd met had tried to kind of ruin it for me. And so it's definitely sort of industry where there are ups and downs, and it doesn't matter what stage in your career you're at, you always feel that. So yeah, it's important from time to time just to like kind of take stock and remind yourself of kind of what you like about it, and rethink sort of ways that you can make it work for yourself if there are aspects of it that aren't working, and normally that's enough for you to sort of push through it. I started to always make sure that I had a project that I was doing in photography that was just for me, that I was really passionate about, because it kind of gave me the self-confidence and kind of injected that level of passion into my work, where it reminded me like why I was doing what I was doing, and to be able to do a project that you really love, it helps boost your confidence, and that kind of helps carry you forward. And I found too, like, one of the worst things that can happen is if you go into a meeting, one of the things that they always ask you is, so what have you been working on? And if you say nothing, it's like the room, it just like, it goes dead. But if there's something that you've been doing that you're passionate about, it doesn't have to be anything for money, it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It can be, as simple as doing like a series of my cat in black and white, whatever. If you have something that you've been working on that you're passionate about, as soon as like you're talking to someone about that, it comes off, and it changes the flow of the conversation, because it shows that you care about your work, and it shows that you're dedicated to it. And so for me, always making sure that I have that kind of like 1 or 2 projects where it's something that really fulfills me creatively and that's really what I want to do. It's helped me in the times where I've had really bad failures, because it's just given me that confidence to get over it, which is really important, because like no one's going to care about your career more than you. Like no one else is going to give a shit, really, because it's your life ultimately. And if you quit tomorrow, it's only really you that's affected, because there'll be like plenty of other photographers in the world to like fill in those jobs. And so like really it's this thing in your own mind when it comes to like failures in the industry, where like you need to find what your ways are of like bringing yourself back up. And so yeah, for me, it's always just finding a passion project and concentrating on that until things get better. I'd say, first of all, when it is a failure and it is just on you, just like realize that it happens to everyone and just like find a way to kind of learn from it and build on it and move past it. And then for failures that where you've put yourself out there and it doesn't come back how you expect, just know that it's not always about you in that situation. And sometimes people just don't respond to emails, or people kind of don't respond to your work just because that's not the mindset they're in, or it's just like, or they're overwhelmed, or it's a bad day, or whatever it is, like, and you just have to keep pushing forward and know that like it's not always gonna be where everyone loves your work all the time, and you have to remind yourself you're never gonna just be judged on like one shoot or one project either. You're building a career for the long haul, and so having like bad week, bad month, even like a bad year, kind of in the scope of an entire career, it's just a blip, and you just need to find ways to learn from it and build on it.